विश्व में फैलता जा रहा इस विकराल बीमारी का जाल, जिसकी गिरफ्त में है लगभग 70% विकासशील देश। इस लाइलाज बीमारी के खिलाफ यदि कोई लड़ सकता है तो वो है जन जागरूकता। ऐसा ही एक प्रयास किया है निर्देशक महेंद्र सिसोदिया ने अपनी फिल्म फ्रॉम टिया विद लव के माध्यम से, जिसका प्रदर्शन राजधानी में केंद्रीय मंत्री श्री ऑस्कर फर्नांडीज ने किया। सामाजिक जगत की कई जानी मानी हस्तियों ने इस फिल्म को काफी सराहा।
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Tiya. Happy birthday to you.
देखिए अभी जो HIV एड्स जो डिसीज़ है एक ग्लोबल डायमेंशन इसका हो गया है, और ख़ासकर हम लोगों ने इस पे जिस बात पे जोर दिया है वो माइंडसेट्स के ऊपर जोर दिया है लोगों के, कि अगर किसी को बीमारी हो जाती तो उसके प्रति लोगों का व्यवहार कैसा होता है। 3 चीज़ों को इस फिल्म में कवर किया है। एक तो यह है कि कुछ एरियाज है जहां आदमी सावधानी बरत सकता है, और दूसरा है कि माइंडसेट लोगों का कैसा होता है, और तीसरा है पॉजिटिविटी। ये सब होने के बावजूद एक आदमी किस तरह से स्ट्रगल करके बाहर निकल सकता है।
फिल्म की कहानी एक मासूम बच्ची टिया के इर्द गिर्द घूमती है जो HIV पॉजिटिव है, जिसके कारण उसे स्कूल से भी निकाल दिया गया है और समाज में उपेक्षा का दंश झेलना पड़ता है। इन्हीं सबको अपनी डायरी में लिखकर टिया अपना बचपन बिताती है। टिया की भूमिका में रिद्धि पुनिमाया और जोया अफरोज ने बेहतरीन अभिनय किया है।
इसमें रिद्धि ने छोटा तिया एक 5 साल की है, और उसको हमने फिर फ्लैशबैक के बाद 13 साल की बताया, जो इस बीमारी से निकल के बाहर इसने स्कूल टॉप किया है, स्कूल एग्ज़ाम में पहले आई है और बहुत अच्छी भरतनाट्यम डांसर है। तो 2 तिया हैं, एक रिद्धि पुनिया है, तिया 5 साल की, और एक रिद्धि 13 साल की है, जोया अफरोज है। और बहुत सीनियर आर्टिस्ट हैं, रजिता कोचर जी ने प्रिंसिपल का रोल किया है।
25 मिनट की ये फिल्म समाज में फैलती इस घातक बीमारी के खिलाफ जागरूक करती है और दिखाती है कि यदि भविष्य सुरक्षित रखना है तो सावधानी और सुरक्षा महत्वपूर्ण है, अन्यथा अनेकों मासूम इस बीमारी की कैद में पड़ते चले जाएंगे।
एड्स के बढ़ते प्रकोप से लोगों को आगाह करने के लिए फिल्मों का बखूबी इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। एड्स को लेकर कई फिल्में बन चुकी हैं और कई बनने जा रही हैं। इसी कड़ी में अब एक और फिल्म का नाम है फ्रॉम टिया विद लव। इस फिल्म में बच्चों के ऊपर इस त्रासदी के असर को बयान करने की कोशिश की गई है। फिल्म से जुड़े लोगों को भरोसा है कि इसके जरिए समाज में एड्स से चल रही जंग और एड्स पीड़ितों से सहानुभूति की भावना को बढ़ावा देने में मदद मिलेगी।
कहानी में एक ट्विस्ट ये भी है कि आने वाली फिल्म फिर मिलेंगे में सलमान खान को एड्स हो जाता है। ऐसे ही कुछ ट्विस्ट की बात कर रही है हमारी संवाददाता रोना गुप्ते।
कुछ खुशबुएं
जो पहले पर्दे पर भोली भाली सी मुस्कान बिखेरने वाले सलमान शायद फिल्म में आपके होठों की मुस्कुराहटें छीन ले। फिल्म में सलमान एड्स के मरीज बने हैं, तो वहीं शिल्पा उनकी बीवी, जिन्हें सलमान से ये बीमारी लग जाती है।
ब्यूटीफुल रोमांटिक फिल्म, इट्स अ फिल्म व्हिच हैज इमोशंस। और जैसे हमारे पहले फ्रॉड पिक्चरें होती थी ना, कि अब आप हार्ट अटैक से मर रहे हो, शादी करा के जा रहा है बच्चों की, वो नहीं है।
She got into her new school. Her new school was a dingy storeroom.
ये पहली बार है जब एड्स को बड़े बजट की फिल्म का विषय बनाया गया हो। वैसे 25 मिनट की फिल्म टू टिया विद लव भी एक ऐसे बच्चे की कहानी है जिसे ये बीमारी अपने माँ बाप से मिलती है।
2-3 एस्पेक्ट को हम लोगों ने इसमें कवर किया है। जैसे मैंने बताया आपको, एक तो कि जहाँ आदमी सावधान रह सकता है, दूसरा है माइंडसेट ऑफ पीपल और तीसरा है होप और स्पिरिट।
मुझे नहीं जाना है किसी हॉस्पिटल में, मेरा जो कुछ भी होना यही होने दो।
1996 में जब महेश मांजरेकर ने अपनी फिल्म निदान के जरिए पहली बार दर्शकों को एड्स से रूबरू कराना चाहा, तो फिल्म का हश्र ये हुआ कि फिल्म ने आज तक सिनेमा थिएटर का चेहरा तक नहीं देखा। महेश भी मानते हैं कि ऐसी फिल्मों को तो दर्शक भी देखना नहीं चाहते।
Films on HIV and the sad part is nobody wants to see. So people are scared. We are scared. We feel कि we are Indians and we won't be affected by the disease.
मुझे दुख के साथ कहना पड़ रहा है आपके दोस्त
महेश मांजरेकर की इस फिल्म में जहां मुख्य किरदार को एड्स हुआ था, तो वहीं राज कौशल की फिल्म प्यार में कभी कभी जैसी यूथ फिल्म में इस विषय का बड़ी संजीदगी से जिक्र किया गया था। चाहे आप इसे फिल्मों में किसी बीमारी का ग्लैमराइजेशन ही कह ले, लेकिन एक बात होता है कि बड़े कैनवस में जब इस तरह से किसी बीमारी को दिखाया जाता है, तो हो सकता है दूर दराज के गांव में बैठा हुआ वो व्यक्ति इन बीमारियों की भयानकता को समझ सके। रूना गुप्ते, मुंबई, आज तक।
आइए बात करते हैं एक शॉर्ट फिल्म की जो एड्स पर आधारित है, और इस फिल्म में दिखाई गई है एक छोटी सी यंग सी बहुत ही प्यारी सी लड़की की दास्तां जो सोसाइटी में बिल्कुल मूव नहीं कर पाती है और उसके साथ बहुत ही मिसबिहेव किया जाता है। इस फिल्म में 3 मैसेजेस दिए गए हैं, जिसमें ये कहा गया है कि एड्स ग्रस्त लोगों को पॉजिटिव आउटलुक से देखा जाए और उनको सपोर्ट किया जाए। HIV पॉजिटिव की प्रॉब्लम्स पर तो आपने काफी फिल्में देखी होंगी। फ्रॉम टिया विद लव भी एक ऐसी ही फिल्म है जो 4 साल के बच्चे की रियल लाइफ स्टोरी पर आधारित है।
एक तो यह है कि आदमी बीमार है और उसको इतनी खतरनाक बीमारी हो गई है और उसके ऊपर समाज का अगर यह रवैया रहे तो बहुत ही दहला देने वाली बात होती है।
आज भी HIV पॉजिटिव लोगों के बारे में आम धारणा काफी अलग है। शायद इस छोटी सी फिल्म और बाल कलाकार की बात लोगों को सही दिशा दिखा सके।
She cries a lot. And she does not get her admission in a school. And big Tiya, and it's shown that she's now living in this world till 13 or 14 years.
मुद्दा तो काफी संजीदा है, फिर भी एक पहल जरूरी है।
Much bigger than this one.
From Tiya with Love कहानी है एक 4 साल की लड़की की जो HIV पॉजिटिव है। We can all encourage films like this just by watching these films. मधु, सहारा समय, दिल्ली।
रेवती की फिल्म फिर मिलेंगे भले ही बॉक्स ऑफिस पर एक बड़ी हिट ना रही हो, लेकिन ये लगातार खबरों में बनी हुई है। इस फिल्म के रिलीज होने के कुछ ही समय बाद एड्स पर एक और शॉर्ट फिल्म रिलीज की गई। दिल्ली में इस फिल्म की एक स्पेशल स्क्रीनिंग हुई।
महेश सिसोदिया की शॉर्ट फिल्म फ्रॉम टिया विद लव की स्क्रीनिंग के लिए एक्ट्रेस नफीसा अली के साथ ऑस्कर फर्नांडिस भी पहुंचे। टिया विद लव कहानी है एक छोटी लड़की की जिसके पेरेंट्स की एड्स की वजह से मौत हो गई है। वो खुद एक एड्स विक्टिम है, लेकिन उसने जिंदगी जीना नहीं छोड़ा।
Life gives you seconds, days and months, with a mix of joys, sorrows and fears. Count the years, life takes days and seconds away. So count every second before you call it a day.
ऐसे पिक्चर्स बनते हैं तो लोगों में if they have any heart, फिर कुछ तो जाग जाता है। जागृति बहुत जरूरी है जनता के बीच में, क्योंकि ये बीमारी HIV एड्स समझना बहुत जरूरी है।
माइंडसेट जो है लोगों का, उसको बदलना बहुत जरूरी है। और अब एड्स का अगर कोई मरीज है तो उसको हिम्मत होना चाहिए, मतलब उसके हम लोगों का एटीट्यूड ऐसा होना चाहिए, उसको हिम्मत हो और बता सके कि मैं पॉजिटिव हूँ, मैं HIV वायरस से इन्फेक्टेड हूँ, इतना होना चाहिए। एक माइंडसेट के ऊपर बात की है और अंत में जो फिल्म की बात की हम लोगों ने तो पॉजिटिविटी की बात की है।
60 मिनट की शॉर्ट फिल्म को देश भर में स्क्रीन किया जाएगा। निहारिका सफाया, इंडिया टीवी, दिल्ली।
And our co-sponsor, the U.S. Agency for International Development. I want to warmly welcome you all to the American Center and thank you for coming for the program. We have a very special program for all of you today. We're going to be viewing and discussing a very special film called From Tiya with Love, made by director Mehin Sisodia. This is a film about a young girl who's HIV positive. So we'll watch the film together, and afterwards we'll have a discussion, and I hope all of you will feel free to ask questions and give us your thoughts about what how you felt about the film. We're very fortunate to have the director with us today, Mehin Sisodia, who's come all the way from Mumbai to talk with you and introduce his film.
Thank you, Mr. Tosh. Good morning, everybody. I am delighted to see so many young friends here, and instead of delivering a formal speech, I would like to read a newspaper report about a girl, Alisha, from London. Alisha was born HIV positive through vertical transmission of the virus from her mother. Her plight is shared by hundreds of youngsters who, no fault of their own, have been stigmatized by the ignorance of the vengeful society. Ironically, these youngsters who suffered daily torments of discovery pose virtually no medical risk to their schoolmates. HIV cannot be transmitted through saliva, kissing, drinking from someone else's cup, or even touching blood, unless a person has a gaping wound. Alisha's plight can be understood when she says, if the public had been a little more understanding, it would not be such a problem. It is in such a light that I pursued the idea and made film From Tiya with Love. We have today with us very eminent panelists, and I'm sure we are going to be benefited by their expertise here. And let's watch the film. Thank you very much.
Is my real voice. I'm lucky to belong to Tiya. Her mother gifted me to her.
I'd like to invite the person who's going to lead the panel discussion, whose name is Dr. Dora Warren of the Centers for Disease Control. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and then I would ask her to introduce the other panelists.
Care home, and it's a clinical and palliative care home here in Delhi. Was really the first place where there was a place for people living with HIV to receive care here in New Delhi.
I'm Rahul from DPS Mathura Road, and I think that the main message was that we must be careful in this age, that is teen age, and so we must not be influenced by the peer group, and we must be careful about what we are doing in this age, because this is what will lead in the future, and then we'll have to suffer. I think the main message.
I think that.
As well as I myself was also HIV positive for the past 5 years now. So the issue of this friend and not getting admission in the school, it's reality. It's happening in India. Till now we cannot fight. There is no policy in the school that they should not be discriminated. They should not be stigmatized. There's no policy and there's nothing being followed.
I would like some feedback from you. I have noticed that the people who are slightly older, I'm saying that, tend to get rather stuck in their ways, and they're not prepared to change and look at things from a different angle. Now that is where you come in.
An HIV positive person can live up to 10, 15, 20 years if he has a positive set of mind.
If you notice it, we have covered 3 modes of HIV transmission out of 4 main modes of transmission. Heterosexual vertical transmission, that is mother to child, and intravenous, that is drug abuse. Now this is when you go and see these things, then you will get preventive about these things. By the way, a vertical transmission can, a mother to child can be 3 stages: before delivery, across the placenta, during delivery, and after delivery by breastfeeding through milk. So all this what we are showing here, the 3 modes, is preventive. We are also covering here the social stigma, because we all know this HIV/AIDS is not only a disease now, it's a social curse. And at the end, we have shown the positivity. There is a life after HIV/AIDS.
This has been an absolutely marvellous morning for us, and I hope for you too. We've all learned a lot, and I'm just sorry that just now, when we're really beginning to get talking, we have to end it. That always seems to be the way. There are many people to thank. The director, of course, thank you so much for your passion in making this film, and thanks to your assistant directors as well for coming here and joining us for this morning. Thank you for agreeing that we could show the film, and again, most of all, for taking your time to be here.
Share this experience with you. Let me say a few brief words about Mahendra Sisodia. He received a doctoral degree in international space law from the International Legal Studies Division at JNU, where he later served on the faculty. He's also, interestingly, studied classical Indian music for more than 15 years. And he learned filmmaking from the Digital Academy in Mumbai. And I think you're very much going to appreciate his film, From Tiya with Love. But before I invite him to the stage to introduce the film, I want to welcome another very distinguished guest, our Deputy Chief of Mission, Mr. Robert Blake. Mr. Blake is a career diplomat who arrived in New Delhi in June 2003. Prior to that, he served in numerous positions in Washington, D.C. and abroad in Tunisia, Algeria, and Egypt. He holds a BA from Harvard and a master's from Johns Hopkins. He's very knowledgeable about the subject of HIV/AIDS, and he'd like to say a few words about it this afternoon. Please join me in welcoming our DCM, Mr. Robert Blake.
It's a real pleasure for me to be here. All of my colleagues at the American Embassy know that anytime there's an AIDS event of any kind, if they need me to come speak, I'm always happy to do it, because I really believe that this is a very, very important issue, not only here in this great country in India, but also in our own country, in the United States, where we've been grappling with this for 25 years, and it's still the leading cause of death among young black males. So we really don't have the answers either, but it's something that just shows you we really need a constant effort, and it really needs an effort by all of society to really deal with this. Let me join Tobin in just thanking Mahendra for coming today. He's come all the way from Mumbai to be with us. He's also donated this to let us use this free of charge, and we really appreciate that. I had the good fortune of meeting him a couple of months ago, and maybe even longer now. He came into my office and we had a great discussion, and we sort of talked about this kind of thing and having a little film series. And I think we're going to try to do more of these kind of things. We have another wonderful documentary filmmaker, a fellow called Robert Bilheimer, who's American, who's done a wonderful documentary called Closer Walk. And that's why I'm really proud to be here today and to help to talk about this very, very important thing. And I think that filmmakers like Mahendra
Thank you, Mr. Black. Thank you, Mr. Tower. It's a great pleasure to be here to share the film with such a distinguished audience. In the morning too, I had a wonderful session, very valuable session with the school children. And for this I am thankful to the Public Affairs section, the USAID, and all the officials involved in organizing this event. They have shown discrimination, stigma, and mindsets of the people. The film ends with a positive note to establish that, well, I think a director should talk through his film, and I think it's better I should let the film talk. Thank you very much.
While that's going on, I'd like to introduce the person who's going to be leading our panel discussion, Dr. Dora Warren of the Centers for Disease Control.
And as was said before, this is the second time that we've viewed the film today, and every time I see it, I actually see new things in it, and a real compliment to the director. I'd like to introduce the panelists, Mr. Mike Tonsing. We're sitting on the platform, but we really do want this to be a real interactive discussion with all of you. I think as you can't help but see in the film that we've just seen, so many issues were brought up, and I think the thing that I noticed this morning for the first time was really the final statement after all of the credits go through. In the statement that Tiya didn't need to be alone, and that the battle and the fight against HIV/AIDS is really something that each one of us must and should participate in.
It inspired me a lot. The ending part that I really like about it is that even though it's a lot of obstacle in the life, she defeated, somehow she coped with, and then he lived a positive life. That's what I really like, and it's a reality in in India.
There is a guidelines. Even there is a law. There is a law against women. Doesn't mean there is no atrocities on the women. Now, as a matter of fact, what you are talking, what segment of society is getting this counseling? You are talking of Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, and these metropolitan cities. We have done research. Dr. Deepti Dongawkar, one of the panelists on the NACO, she had consulted 37 cases of the women who have come from the rural areas and the countrysides, and all of them, they have not even heard of what we are talking here, the counseling. What you are talking is absolutely very nice. Now things are happening in this society.
I'd like to, this morning with the school children, one of the areas that came up was the real need to increase awareness for many around, and I think even in the schools that's important. And I'd like to ask Elizabeth a little bit about the counseling and some of the issues that we can do in schools to help staff members and parents better understand the lack of risk in the school setting. Elizabeth, if you could comment on that.
Yes, one is counseling the other. Now this we know for a fact is not right, because counseling is a very specialized, very sensitive, very I really can't find the words to describe how important counseling is. A few years ago, I was working in the Safdarjung Hospital in the Model Counseling Center, where we offered pre and post-test counseling for anyone who came there with a sexually transmitted infection.
What I wanted to say was that if you're taking that fill up a form and pre-test counseling, it scares off a lot of people from undergoing the test. So it defeats the purpose of preventing AIDS. So, in fact, confidentiality could ensure many more people from wanting to go, who would want, of course, I mean, you need not declare the result if it's positive. But definitely confidentiality is a major issue in India.
An example of Mr. Sujay Bhal, he's sitting right here. He has to go to farmhouse somewhere in Merit, and he was supposed to have periodic injections. You are talking of sterilizing needles and risk of birth transfusion. What is happening actually is something different. He went there and he knew, being a young person, he took his own syringe. He bought a new syringe and he took it with him. And he took it to the doctor there in the countryside and said, please. The doctor gladly used the injection, the needle, and after using it, he put in a drawer. When he saw drawer, then he asked, there were 200 more needles. He said, "Iska kya karte hain aap?" He said, "This is big jata hai na gaon mein." This all sold in the villages.
This is the first of what we hope will be a series of films and discussions. We were very lucky that Mahen Sisodia allowed us to show his film. We have been very lucky to see such a wonderful, moving film, and one that has stimulated so much discussion both in the morning with the school audience and now. I think you have shown that we do need to get together to see more of these films, that the discussion could have gone on. There's been some really stimulating remarks about the need for awareness, about what counselling means to us all, about really people's freedom to change their behaviour, about practical things like the condom supply. We've been dealing with so many topics of such vital importance, and I hope that we will see you again when we continue this series, that we'll continue this interaction, which I personally found very motivating, and I found the film really inspiring.
We would like to appreciate his presence here and offer him a bouquet of flowers. I would request Zoya, who is acted in the film as an elder Tiya.
Paradigm works quite extensively in our not just individual lives but also social lives, because we would all be able to appreciate the fact that whenever there is a crisis, whenever you are faced with something which could be as debilitating and damaging as to be even snuffing the life out of you, then the person who is at the center of all this suffering or damage, debilitation, he or she experiences that pain, the trauma, the damage, is something which cannot possibly be appreciated in the same measure, in the same vein, in the same way by somebody else who is not at the center, who is not the target of this suffering.
This film, as you know, has been made by Dr. Mehendra Sisodia. He's done doctorate in international space law, and he has landed up being a filmmaker. Say a few words about his own film. Please give a big hand.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to have a distinguished audience here and so many young friends. A director is out to speak through his film, but I just take this opportunity to say thanks to my parents and people who have really contributed to put up the show here. There are a number of international and national organizations who are doing and individuals who are doing commendable work in the field of HIV and AIDS. From Tiya is a very modest effort on our part. The purpose of this film is not to impart information or educate people about the disease, but more importantly to sensitize the issue. I consider myself at most lucky to have a distinguished panelist here. Dr. Anand Sathe, Dr. Paranjape, Mr. Khanna for MCure. And I must say, therefore yesterday when I met Mr. Khanna, he had to go to Kenya and he has deferred his journey to be part of this. I'm really touched with this gesture. We also have a very wonderful person, very special person, Renutai Gavaskar, to be on the panel. I'm thankful to all of them. In fact, without talking anything about the film, I would just like to take this opportunity to express my thanks to the individuals, Mr. Atal Pranay, my friend, Sri Sharan, the Director of FTII, and Professor Paramjit Sharma, the Professor of IT in Memnicom. In fact, it is he who gave the way for screening today is taking place.
Judge a film. We have a lot of experts here to do that a little later. But before that, let me again call upon Dr. Sisodia.
Invite all of them one by one. Ujjwal Chopra and Zoya Afroz and our big heroine, Riddhi Punia. We also have, actually this is a script which made me feel that I must bring Tiya on the cellulite. I would request Prashadni to be on the desk, please. Thank you very much for being such a nice. We are going to have a panel discussion here with the most dedicated and knowledgeable people here who are going to enlighten us on the subject. I must say, however, that the idea of this discussion is not to delve into the political, legal and human right and social issues of the subject, disease, but to just enlighten the youngsters here who are going to put the question.
Dr. Sathe, founder of Sathe Hospital in Decca Gymkhana, also founder member of the Family Planning Association of India, Pune. Dr. has been postgraduate and doctorate in medical microbiology. Then we have Mr. A.K. Khanna, Director, Healthcare Pharmaceuticals. Mr. Khanna has been advisor to African government and a lot of NGOs there. for HIV and AIDS, and he also counsels HIV patients very actively. And then we have Renute Gavaskar. I always call her the most beautiful lady. So now we have this open session, and I request everyone and anyone from you to ask questions to these panelists.
My question is, what is the right age for the introduction of sex education and AIDS awareness?
When a person suffering from HIV reaches the AIDS stage, what physical suffering does he have to undergo?
Sex education is concerned, it is only in 1993 the National Council of Education, Research and Training thought of starting and introducing sex education in the school curriculum. And still it is not introduced. I am working with the NCERT or ACRT still in the process, number one. Secondly, the special question that has been asked, that when the sex education starts, actually it starts right from the parents. First we have to teach the parents about it. And secondly, parents and teachers also.
Before coming to the therapies which are available in India and how we are matching the international therapies and international standard. So let us see HIV/AIDS as an issue first. HIV/AIDS वर्ल्ड में आज 45 मिलियन पेशेंट्स को आइडेंटिफाइड हैं करीब, और उसके इंडिया में करीब 5+ मिलियन पेशेंट्स नाको के अकॉर्डिंग सेंसस से थे, बट से डिबेटेबल कितने पेशेंट्स होंगे। और एशिया नंबर अगर देखेंगे तो इंडिया में, एशिया में अगर 80 लाख हैं तो 50 लाख इंडिया में है। साउथ अफ्रीका के बाद वी आर सेकंड लार्जेस्ट। सो नाउ economic agenda of the countries are changing now. If you see Africa, where I am mostly 1 week in a month, मैं अफ्रीका में रहता हूँ। I have adopted some patients personally and I look after them for therapies. बट उस कंट्री में जब जाओ तो सबसे पहले प्राइम मिनिस्टर, प्रेसिडेंट, कंट्री का हेल्थ मिनिस्टर हमें क्यों वेलकम करता है? क्योंकि मैं HIV ड्रग्स बनाता हूँ। एक टाइम होता था कि जो कंपनीज बड़े बड़े प्रोडक्ट बनाती हैं उनके लोगों को वेलकम होता था, और मैं जब जाता हूँ तो कि मैं जा रहा हूँ तो मैं प्रेसिडेंट का गेस्ट होऊंगा, अफ्रीका में कोई कंट्री जाऊंगा तो मिनिस्टर का गेस्ट होऊंगा। तो दे वेलकम अस बिकॉज हम उनको ऐसी थेरेपी दे रहे हैं, कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव दे रहे हैं, और जो दवाइयों की कीमत हम लोग ने $3,000 पर मंथ थेरेपी थी, उसको हमने $10 पर मंथ कर दिया। ऐसा भी रेशोस में लेके आए हम लोग। ये इंडियन कंपनीज ने इतना अचीव किया है।
डॉक्टर साठेने मगाशी आपल्याला सेक्स एज्युकेशन बद्दलच्या वयाबद्दल थोडंसं भाष्य केलं होतं, त्याचा एक सामाजिक ऍस्पेक्ट, सोशल ऍस्पेक्ट बद्दल मला रेणूताला एक प्रश्न विचारायचा आहे की याच्यामध्ये सामाजिक भावना घ्या तुम्ही, तर मुलांची मानसिकता काय असते, मुलांची किंवा पालकांची?
नाही, असं मला वाटलं की सेक्स एज्युकेशन जेव्हा आपण देत असतो तेव्हा आता ही जी फिल्म HIV/AIDS बद्दल झाली त्याच्या सामाजिकतेचा फार मोठा विचार होत नाही। म्हणजे HIV ला सोशल स्टिग्मा इतका प्रचंड आहे हे आता वेगवेगळ्या लोकांनी सांगितलं, पण पर्टिक्युलरली सेक्स वर्कर्सच्या बाबतीत जवळजवळ सेक्स वर्कर ही आयडेंटिफाय किंवा इक्वल धरली जाते HIV/AIDS बद्दल, जसं की ते नाही आहे। आणि त्यामुळे त्या एरियातल्या लोकांना अतोनात मनस्ताप आणि सामाजिक बदनामीचं शिकार व्हावं लागतं। मला असं वाटतं की शाळातून शिक्षकांनी, घराघरातून पालकांनी याची चर्चा जरूर केली पाहिजे, कारण त्यामुळे आमच्या ठिकाणच्या मुलांची अशी समस्या असते की तिथून ते बाहेर पडून समाजाचा एक निरोगी अंग असं बनूच शकत नाही, कारण तो जो सोशल स्टिग्मा त्याला आहे किंवा HIVचा एक अदृश्य असा बागुलबा त्याच्या पाठी चिकटवला गेलेला आहे, तो घेऊन त्याचा सामाजिक स्वीकार होत नाही। आणि म्हणून सेक्स वर्कर्सच्या मुलांच्या बाबतीत किंवा त्या सेक्स वर्कर्सच्या बाबतीत सुद्धा आपण जवळजवळ त्यांना त्याच्या बाबतीत एकात्मता अशी देऊन टाकली, एक प्रकारचं आयडेंटिफिकेशन करून टाकलं, याचा खूप विचार झाला पाहिजे।
आपण 2-3 प्रश्न एकत्रित करूयात, आणखी उत्तर एक होऊ शकतं त्याचा विचार करूया का?
Can the willpower of the person also help to prolong the life?
Are condoms completely safe with respect to HIV?
Today we have seen this movie and we have understood it, but how will the other students of our school and the other students of other school and in other places, how will they see this movie?
always tell the patients who come to the clinic, and part of the counseling is that a positive attitude towards life is definitely very helpful for longer and better quality of life. So willpower definitely has a very important role to play in the longevity as well as quality of the life of HIV infected person. That is really extremely important aspect. If a patient can really take a positive attitude and look that instead of saying that now my life is only 10 years, if he looks at it and says that my life is 10 years and maybe much more than that, and let me see what all I can do in that time period, I think the person will definitely live much better life as well as much longer life.